In the heart of Kenya, a monumental task takes place each year. From dawn to dusk, millions of smallholder farmers work tirelessly to harvest maize, the country's staple crop. Without modern machinery, these farmers rely on manual labor and traditional farming techniques to reap billions of tons of maize from their fields. Kenya's agricultural landscape is shaped by smallholder farms, where families cultivate plots of land no larger than a few acres. Despite the absence of large-scale mechanization, these farmers contribute significantly to the country's food supply and economy. This is the country of how Kenyan farmers harvest maize, not with the help of machines, but with the sheer determination, skill, and hard work. Maize, known as mahindi in Swahili, is a lifeline for millions of Kenyans. It is the primary staple food, with maize flour being the key ingredient in ugali. Ugali is a dish found in nearly every Kenyan household. For many farmers, maize is more than just food. It's a source of livelihood, a currency in rural economies, and a symbol of sustenance. Just imagine, Kenya produces over 40 million bags of maize annually, with smallholder farmers contributing the bulk of this production. However, while maize farming is essential for food security, the process of growing and harvesting the crop is arduous and labor intensive. Kenya's agricultural sector is predominantly composed of smallholder farmers who cultivate less than 2 hectares of land on average. These farmers play a crucial role in feeding the nation, but their farms are characterized by limited resources, lack of access to advanced technology, and a heavy reliance on manual labor. Unlike in developed countries where mechanized farming is the norm, most Kenyan farmers cannot afford tractors or other harvesting machines. Instead, they rely on simple hand tools, family labor, and traditional knowledge passed down through generations. The maize harvesting process in Kenya begins once the crop reaches full maturity, usually after 3 to 4 months, depending on the variety and region. The journey from field to granary is a labor-intensive and time-consuming one. Here is how it's done step by step. Now, step 1 is assessing the crop's readiness for harvest. Farmers know their maize is ready for harvest when the cobs have dried on the stalks, the husks turn brown, and the kernels harden. In the absence of scientific tools, the farmers rely on visual and tactile cues to determine the crop's readiness. And then step 2, hand harvesting. The manual harvesting process begins with cutting the maize cob from the stalks using machetes or sickles. This is typically a family affair, with men, women, and children working side by side. The harvested cobs are then collected in baskets or sacks, which are carried to a central location for further processing. Unlike machine harvesting, which is quick and uniform, manual harvesting is slow and careful. Farmers must ensure they do not damage the cobs, which could affect the quality of the maize. And then step 3, removing the husks. Once the cobs are harvested, the next step is to remove the husks by hand. This process, known as dehusking, involves peeling back the outer layer of the maize to expose the kernels. Dehusking is done immediately after harvesting, often in the field or at home. The husks are not wasted. They are typically used as fodder for livestock or as a fuel for cooking fires. That is firewood. Step 4 is drying the maize. After dehusking, the maize must be dried before storage to prevent mold and spoilage. Farmers spread the cobs on a large tarpaulins or directly on the ground in open spaces. Sun drying is the most common method as it is cost-effective and accessible to all farmers. You must remember that the drying process can take several days to weeks depending on the weather. Farmers must constantly monitor the maize, turning it over to ensure even drying. Rain is a constant threat, and farmers must be ready to cover their crops at a moment's notice. While maize farming is an integral part of rural life in Kenya, it comes with its fair share of challenges. The reliance on manual labor and traditional method means that Kenyan smallholder farmers face significant obstacles, particularly during the harvest season. One of them is limited access to modern tools. One of the most pressing challenges is the lack of access to modern tools and equipment. Tractors, combine harvesters, and other machinery are often too expensive for small-scale farmers. As a result, they must rely on basic tools like pangas, hoes, and oxen draws plows, which are far less efficient. Labor-intensive work. Harvesting maize by hand is an incredibly labor-intensive process. It requires significant manpower and the work is physically demanding. Many farmers spend long hours in the sun, bending, cutting and hauling heavy sacks of maize. The process is slow, and in larger fields, it can take weeks to complete the harvest. Unpredictable weather patterns. Climate change has made farming in Kenya increasingly unpredictable. Droughts, floods, and unexpected rain can wreak havoc on crops, especially during the critical drying phase. Farmers have little control over these conditions, and a poorly timed rainstorm can destroy weeks of hard work. Post-harvest losses. Even after a successful harvest, Kenyan farmers face the risk of post-harvest losses. Without proper storage facilities, maize is vulnerable to pest, moisture, and molds. Traditional granaries, often made from wood or mud, do not offer the same protection as modern silos. Despite the challenges, Kenyan farmers are resilient and resourceful. In recent years, new innovation and techniques have been introduced to help ease the burden of manual maize harvesting. One of the most effective strategies for overcoming the challenges of manual harvesting is community cooperation. In many rural areas, farmers come together to form work groups that assist each other during the harvest. This collective approach reduces the labor burden on individual farmers and speeds up the process. Improved storage solutions. Efforts are also being made to improve storage facilities to reduce post-harvest losses. Non-governmental organizations and government agencies have introduced affordable modern silos made from metal or plastic. These structures offer better protection against pests and moisture, helping farmers preserve their harvest for longer periods. What about agricultural extension services? Agricultural extension services have become increasingly important in helping farmers adopt more efficient methods. These services provide farmers with valuable knowledge on crop management, pest control, and post-harvest handling. They also introduce farmers to new seed varieties that are more resistant to drought and pest. The maize harvest in Kenya is not just a personal victory for the farmers. It has a profound impact on the nation's economy and food security. Maize is a key ingredient in many Kenyan diets, and ensuring a successful harvest is crucial for preventing food shortages. Smallholder farmers produce about 75% of Kenya's maize, making them vital to the country's food supply. However, challenges like climate change, land degradation, and limited access to resources threatens the sustainability of maize farming. To ensure food security, the Kenyan government and international organizations continue to invest in programs that support smallholder farmers through training, technology, and infrastructure development. In Kenya, the maize harvest is not just about feeding families. It's about survival, resilience, and tradition. Despite the many challenges they face, Kenyan smallholder farmers continue to play an essential role in feeding the nation, one cob at a time. Their story is one of the perseverance and determination, proving that even without modern machines, the strength of the human spirit can move mountains. Or in this case, billions of tons of maize. And as long as there is maize to be harvested, the fields of Kenya will continue to thrive, powered by the hands of its people.